Welcome to the Tuesday Night Music Show, where occasionally we talk about music. We have Howie, of course, as always. Howie's here. And Swingin' Jay.
What's going on? Well. How are you?
I cut you off, Howie. I'm sorry, you were saying hi.
No, you didn't cut me off. I just waved.
Oh, your wave made a sound, I thought. I've got three things that I wanted to talk about tonight. And I know, since we have Pastor Jay with us, and we'll get a sermon somewhere in here, that I probably won't get to all three. So I'm going to save the third one for the last thing, and we'll probably need at least 10 to 15 minutes to talk about it. So if you're really curious, it has to do with the broadcast I just watched from the Hanging with Howie we did.
Oh, yes.
So I had a thought. I had a weird thought, and I wanted to share it, but I'll save that for the third thing. I'll do these other two things.
Okay, cool.
And if you guys really want to hear the third thing, remind me before it's over. But if you don't, we'll just keep talking about other things.
All right.
So the first thing, we have to talk about music, because if we don't, we lose our funding from the government.
Yeah, from the government. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
So Duran Duran Rio turned 40 years old today.
I saw your TikTok.
Yeah. May 10th, 1982, Rio had a worldwide release. Now, before that, the Carnival album came out, or EP. And we'd heard Hungry Like the Wolf and such, but this is when the album actually came out. So it's a 40-year-old album. So if you didn't feel old, now you do.
Yeah. Thanks. I feel better now.
That's why I got Rio back here. See?
Yeah,
I have three
copies.
Yeah. You know, a lot of albums, if I've got more than two, I will liquidate. But yeah, I feel like I could probably have more than one copy of Rio. And they're all a little different. Jay, you got anything on that?
I remember when it came out, because I remember I worked with a bunch of girls that were super into Duran Duran, and I wasn't that familiar. I think I'd heard Planet Earth.
Sure.
And Hungry, and I liked the Hungry video.
Oh,
They got me at Save a Prayer. The Rio video is cool too, but Save a Prayer, I was like, where are they? And I saw an interview, they were in Sri Lanka. And that became my thing at 19, 20.
Go to Sri Lanka? There's nothing there. They just shot videos.
No, I was, God, how old was I? So today it's 40. So I was 18.
Yeah, I was 11.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, like, that's going to be my new buzz thing. Like, if somebody goes, "Oh, where did you want to go?"
I wasn't 11 yet. Yeah, I was 10 days from 11. That's right. I wasn't quite 11 yet.
Yeah,
I was 10. Let's give you a little perspective.
It's a great album. I'm a huge fan of theirs. I saw them in 85, 86. Took my sisters to see them in Boston.
7 in the Ragged Tiger.
Yeah, it was 7 in the Ragged
Tiger. Or Arena. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the big track was Reflex was getting a ton of play.
Mm-hmm. I'll be New Moon on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was getting
Union of the Snake may have been.
Union of the Snake was in there. I mean, when you look back on it, granted, they didn't put out 25 songs an album.
No.
But boy, whoever did production work and whoever guided them with A&R, man, they certainly picked great tracks, because there aren't a lot of like duds that Duran Duran put out.
No, especially on that album. That album is exceptional.
Mm-hmm. I think that one's great. I think it might be their best album. They were really in their form.
The interesting thing about Duran Duran is, when I look at the album, because I was checking it out, I did a little video on it today. There are really good tracks on that album, but some of the versions of the songs that I like on the album aren't on the album. They're on the Night version 12-inch. The one that comes to mind is My Own Way. If you listen to My Own Way, it almost sounds I don't know what you would call it. It's very pop. It's very new wave pop. The version I like sounds very disco. And they did the same thing with 7 in the Ragged Tiger when they came out with that. The version of Reflex on there was before Nile Rodgers got a hold of it and did his whole treatment to it, which made it really good. Right. Which was the version of the video and such.
And you bring up a really interesting point for a music DJ oriented show. I was not on that scene. So I never got to hear those. They weren't being played where I was. And I don't recall a lot of, when you go back to that time, that seemed to me in my realm, that was a new phenomenon about the mixes making it out publicly.
Right. Yeah.
Versus the like 70s mixes that you were in a club and you knew this is the Francois K extended, whatever. But it seemed like that early 80s vibe is where you started to get a whisper of, there's a 12-inch remix because you bought music.
You know where I was hearing them? I was 10, 12 years old. You know where I was hearing this stuff?
No.
On Your Night Flight. On Night Flight.
See, I never got into Night Flight. I think I was.
Oh, you missed the boat on that one, dude.
I did.
That was
I was
good.
MTV was, or Burt Sugarman's Midnight Special.
That was good. But Night Flight was the weirdo stuff.
Kirshner's Rock Concert. I never got into Night Flight. There was one in New York I used to watch, and the theme song was Led Zeppelin's Carouselambra.
Yeah. Good song.
That was the theme song for this show, and that's the first time I ever saw Squeeze. And they would play like Squeeze, Pull Another Nail Off My Heart into, not a mix, but just video to video.
Sure.
Into like Garbage Man by the Cramps.
Yeah.
Into Gary Newman, Friends Electric.
Sounds a lot like Night Flight.
That was I don't think it was, but maybe it was. But the name Night Flight doesn't ring a bell. But
you know what? I think, now that you mention it, I think, no. That's not right. They never used Carouselambra to my knowledge.
I only saw this in New York. I
remember
this in Boston.
What was it? Friday Night Videos used to use, I believe it was the intro to Baba O'Reilly as their outro song.
That's a good choice.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yep.
But no, the music video from My Own Way, to my knowledge, there's not an album version of that. It was recorded as a disco song before they put out the Rio album, and they just decided, hey, maybe this disco thing isn't the way to go on the album, which was probably the right move in 1982. But it did turn up on the night. They call them night versions too, which is interesting. We may have talked about this before. This is before remix. So if you wanted a longer cut of your song, you went back into the studio and re-recorded it longer. So they called them night versions. So
they didn't shoot. Would they just take? Because I've not seen this. So if they did a video for My Way, did they then do the night version? Just chop the video up and make it look different?
There's a single edit of that which they use for the music video. That's why I heard the song. Okay. I knew the song through the music video.
Right.
And then I listened to the album. It's like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound anything like what I was digging. So it was different in that regard.
But yeah, like Hungry that on remaster, and I hate that.
Hungry Like the Wolf is something that everybody knows.
Right.
If you go to the album and you listen to Hungry Like the Wolf, it's what you heard on the radio.
Right.
But if you have either have the 45 or if you have perhaps Carnival or somehow listen to the night version, which is the extended mix of the song, it's a completely different session and a completely different recording, and there's different nuances in it.
Right.
The girl moaning at the end of the track moans a lot louder in the night version.
Sure.
The drums are different. The guitar's a little different. But I don't know if they went out and they called them night versions. I don't know if they actually decided to go in at night and do them because it was just a different vibe. I don't know, but they called them night versions. They weren't extended mixes or whatever.
I wonder if they were just that. If they did a version and said, let's try it this way, and then they had the two versions, so they just...
Oh, no, they did extended versions. They were intentionally longer with intros and outros. Right.
But I'm wondering if they did it consciously before. Like, before the album came out, they already had the night sessions done.
They may have noodled around, or who knows. Yeah. I think they... Well, yeah, it's an interesting point. I don't know.
It'd be hard to say, our album's out, it's doing well, let's go back to the studio and redo the tracks as longer.
Oh, no, this was done before the release. This stuff was on Carnival, which came out well before Rio, I believe. I believe it did.
Yeah.
If it didn't, it came out. Anyway, at any rate, it's interesting how it's not a remix, it's a night version. It's like a remix, but it's a different session. And that was only, I think on the first two albums. Once you got to Seven and the Ragged Tiger, they were legitimately remixing things, but they were still calling them night versions. But that's when now Rogers got involved and remixed the Reflex. And the video for the Reflex, with the beginning of ta la la la, that's all Nile. If you listen to the album version, it just kicks in with the drums, dun 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 dun, and it's not as much fun.
No, I like the remix version.
I do too. I think everybody does.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That I think they may have opened. I just remember they opened with either Reflex or something like that because they came out with a bang, and it was
That'd be
like
strong,
the video.
Right.
It was like the video because I'd seen the video for Reflex before
Yeah.
we saw them, and I've never seen the Beatles live or anything like that. But I can imagine the screaming. I mean, there was 20 guys with girls there, and they were. If John Taylor got on the video screen, they lost their ever living minds, and it was that band that you knew everyone.
Right.
You know, we did. I knew every name of everyone in the band. Granted, I think there's 3 of them with Taylor in their name, so it wasn't that difficult.
Andy Taylor, Roger Taylor,
John Taylor,
and John. Yeah, and then
so it wasn't that tough. Simon Le Bon and
Nick Rhodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not related, by the way. None of
Not
them
related. None of them are. No, their dads were Taylors, but
or somebody
somebody
way back
because they say
it's
that's
England.
Where the
Who knows?
names. Yeah. What's his name? Taylor. Oh, then somewhere in his family, someone was a Taylor. That's where the name came from. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, no, it's a big UK thing here.
It's Shoemaker. There's it goes on and on. Yeah. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up. I thought that was pretty interesting. 40 years.
Do you ever stop and look at things like, you can go to a wedding and Duran Duran's a great group. I don't personally play very much of them out, even though, they had their moment even on the comeback. But something like a AC/DC, Shook Me All Night Long, it still does commercials. It still gets played at a lot of events.
Sure.
And you think, oh, that was so long ago. That's only 42 years old.
Well, do you remember and you got to remember this. Howie's got to remember this. We all have to remember this. Remember why people used to get a hard time for the dance they did back in the 80s? The overbite kind of this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all of those songs are made for those dances. Every Billy Idol song, every Culture Club song, every Duran Duran song is made for that dance.
Yes.
Right. 100%. It's not the 4/4 time that You Shook Me All Night Long is, or, a lot of other songs you can think of that are actually dance songs that stood the test of time. These were a little different. They had a little bit of a different beat.
You had that that sway thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was dancing like Molly Ringwald in The Breakfast Club.
Molly Ringwald, and the one that the atypical one,
or Go-Go's.
Wake Me Up. Wake Me Up by Wham.
Yeah, but that song does well.
I know it does, but I'm saying that made it acceptable because you saw the early George Michael that we were like, dude's really masculine and look at the way he's dancing. I'm going to dance like that.
But we're not hearing Young Guns or Bad Boys because they're more of that British, it's the second British invasion, but they call it first wave.
Right.
Enough. Sound is what all of that was.
Yeah.
And it's
also memorable.
Go ahead, Howie.
All right. If you really want to feel old now, imagine when that song came out and it's, 40 years old now.
Yep.
When it came out, the Andrews Sisters were hits in 42 during World War II. Ooh, now do you feel old?
It's an interesting perspective. Yeah. Yeah. So 40 years, a 40-year-old song when that album came out was the freaking Andrews Sisters and the Ink Spots.
Rock and roll hadn't been created yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been here for a long time. Where's the time gone? I know exactly where it's gone.
Lemmy did a great interview of Motorhead, and he said, I remember, the quote that he gave was, I remember before there was rock. What do you mean? He's like, I was listening to Rosemary Clooney and Big Band.
Sure.
So I remember music before Elvis and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and Buddy Holly, and the impact that had, where dropping ink in water, everything changed.
Yeah.
And it did it, ripple went across the pond, the lake, the river, everything.
Yeah.
I heard a thing today, and they were talking about a new form of rap that's come out called squeak.
Can't wait.
Oh boy.
Oh, you can.
I see a TikTok video coming up.
And let me tell you, it was horrendous.
Yeah.
And it was horrendous because you can't understand it. And the guy that did it said, I did this because I wasn't getting enough traction on my regular song. So I decided to like do like a falsetto kind of squeaky sound and still say the words.
Sure. Cool.
And the only words you really can understand are F and N. Like you can clearly understand those, but everything else is a gamble what he's saying.
Yeah.
But he's got, 89 million views of the video that's been out for 3 months. So I think that the lesson we've learned now is that we are far from safe in the future.
Well, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Pop music is anything that pisses off old people. We are the old people. If it pisses us off, it's probably going to do well.
I can argue why Pretty Vacant's a good song by the Sex Pistols, and most of the Ramones catalog are fun, cool songs.
But could you argue it to your parents?
Oh, I had to argue why.
And would they buy it?
No, they wouldn't. They didn't like Ted Nugent. But what's funny in hindsight is, I thought of this the other day. I think my dad was younger when. I think he was younger. Yeah, he was younger when I was in high school than I am with my kids because I got married older.
Yeah.
He got married younger.
Yeah.
So there's a 5-year gap. I got married at 36. He got married at 31.
Right.
So
and
everything is 5 years back.
Yeah.
But yet I'm the dad that's like, oh, what is this? This sounds dope. I like this, which they don't want to hear. Connor's fine. He's into like yacht rock and CCR and Tom Petty. So, he dialed it in. But, Colin's choice of music is just seriously like, I get it. They're trying to be cool. Well, listen to Public Enemy or KRS-One. If you want to hear something political, don't try to rhyme like every girl's body part. And it's misogynistic at a point that I think it's
Howie. I knew it wouldn't take him long to start shaking his fist at the sky. I knew it wouldn't take long. It would trigger him. These damn kids today. It was going to happen.
But it's not. I just wish that they would give some credence to. Don't tell me your song is a protest song when all it talks about is abusing women. That's not protesting anything.
Well, I don't know.
Like, but then I suppose if I wanted to be devil's advocate, well, how do you explain Wang Dang, Sweet Poontang, and Stranglehold? Well, they were great songs to begin with, and the message wasn't always about being, because we don't live in that time.
Jay needs to have his own show, I think. He needs to have These Kids Today show.
Yeah. How many times?
Wednesdays at 9.
Look at
he did have his own show today. He was on for 3.5 hours.
Well, I mean, on DJNTV, he really needs to get this stuff out. He needs a place to be angry about what his kids like.
No, it sucks because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the angry at music guy.
Guess what? Too late you are.
I knew, when it started all going downhill, the damn Foster the Kids song.
Put them kicks. I love that song.
Yeah, it's a terrible song. Terrible message.
Great song.
It's about school shootings. Screw that.
Let's pretend you didn't speak English and you listen to that song. Melody, harmony, just an interesting way of putting the song together. Do you hate it?
Great instrumental.
Okay, so you have a problem with the content, not a problem with the music, but with the content.
Yes.
You don't have a problem with the sound of the voice, but what the voice is saying.
I have a party on Sunday, and it's a 21st birthday party, and the mother of the girl told me today, under no circumstances am I to play Watermelon Sugar. Her husband wants to hear it. Her daughter wants to hear it. But she read an article about what the song is about. And I was like, okay, no problem. She goes, yeah, it's disgusting. She goes,
you should send her an article about what Afternoon Delight's about.
Yeah.
By Starline Vocal Band. And then send her an article about what the twist is about.
What
in the YMCA. Oh, yeah. Send her an article in the YMCA. See how she feels about that.
I'm like, because, the next step is, should we look at artists? Do you want to go down that road and we'll look at artists?
No,
she's like, if this was my party, I mean, I'm in my 40s. If this was my party, you'd be playing all swears. And without missing a beat, I go, if this was your party, I wouldn't have taken the gig because I don't play swears. And she kind of laughed. She goes, oh, you don't? I said, no, those aren't the parties that I'm the DJ for. That's for the 20-year-old who hasn't invested money in the clean version. I said, I only have clean versions. Oh, wow. I said, nobody asks for swears anymore. So I didn't mean to put her on the spot, but she made it so adamant about no what. And then I wanted to say to her, so you're cool if I play a song that says N, F, A, B, S, all that. But if I play Watermelon Sugar, you think the room's going to collapse around you?
You got to have your own show, dude. You've got so much built up.
I will admit it. I don't know what the song's about. Somebody needed some copy for a magazine,
and they asked him, and he said it's about a female O,
right?
And it's also about a O act, quote unquote. I don't get it. But then I didn't understand that Cake by the Ocean was a metaphor for sex on the beach either. I was late to that party as well. And I said to her, I go, is it cool if I play Cake by the Ocean? She goes, I don't think everyone gets that message. I'm like, babe, I didn't get, and I said, I'll be blunt, I didn't get the Harry Styles message until like 10 minutes ago.
I will put money on this. Most every song written over the last 100 years, most songs written over the last 100 years, and take all the Cardi B out of the equation, take all of the Blowfly out of the equation, all the Two Live Crew out of the equation, take all that stuff out of the equation. Every pop song written for the last 100 years, or most pop songs written over the last 100 years, contain sexual innuendo.
It's not like the old jazz, like Nina.
That's what made it fun.
Right. Nina Simone, put a little sugar in my bowl. She's talking about if she's
right. That we know what she's talking about.
That she needs to have sugar on the cereal, so she wants you to put sugar.
That's exactly what she's talking about.
See,
Jay.
that's a clean song.
Your mother told you that story, I bet.
I played that at a wedding for the cake cutting, and 2 people came over and said, "Is this about what I think it's about?" I'm like, "Song's like 60 years old." I'm like, I don't think they thought that way back then. And the girl goes, "Oh,
of course they did."
Away. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? What do you think? Of course that's what it's about."
The fun part
when
about
I first heard ZZ Top Pearl Necklace, I didn't know what it was until someone went, "Oh," and I went, "Oh."
So there's a TikTok video, Madonna's Little Prayer,
like a prayer,
like a prayer, flat out is about oral.
Sure. But you know, it's like, this is not like a newsflash.
Newsflash, yeah.
No,
Cole Porter, birds do it, bees do it, let's fall in love. What was that about?
Right.
I mean, Cole Porter was the guy in the 1920s, literally 100 years ago. He was writing the Great American Song Catalog that Sinatra sang, and every crooner you've ever heard of sang, and still does. Your Michael Bubleys and all these guys still singing this stuff. Same thing. It's innuendo.
Listen to Robert Johnson, "Dust My Broom." Listen to the words of it. It's from like 1927.
Yeah, your client needs a clue. In fact, you know what? If there's not a book about this, we should write the book. What these songs really mean. And then every time that somebody says something ignorant like that, give them a copy of the book.
Yeah, here's our book.
And bring them back 100 years.
Or I'll read you the very last page before we publish it. It's all about sex.
No, but we could do like Brian did and just like, hey, do I like the melody? I don't really pay attention much to the words.
Well, I really don't. I don't.
No. I mean, I like that attitude though. It's like, people will dance to this.
I will admit though, and I don't know if you guys can even relate to this, and I don't know that a lot of people today can relate to this, but when I was growing up, my parents were very nice, naive Christian folk, and they didn't really get it.
Oh, I know where this is going.
So, I mean, I understood the joke, but Mom didn't, and I'm a child.
Yeah,
and I knew that pushing the bush.
Yeah,
I knew that. Mom in the meantime
singing it right in the kitchen.
She's singing it and vacuuming and dancing to it with her footies on with little balls on the back of them, wanting me to dance with her. And I'm like, no. And she's like, why? And I'd run out of the house. And she didn't understand why.
Yeah.
more. Andrea True connection.
I mean, the fact that she was in porn should have told somebody what she was probably talking
People
about.
didn't know that unless they like read credit, went to porn theaters and read the credits. It's like VHS was available. Nobody had internet.
Who did read the credits?
If you go, but nobody knew. but it's all innuendo stuff.
Afternoon Delight.
Yeah, brand new key melody.
Blatant.
Yeah, perfect example, Lori.
So blatant. Afternoon Delight. So
yes.
blatant.
But it's beautiful.
It's a great song.
Nobody cares.
No, because they make it sound so innocent with the harmonies. So you're like, oh, there's no way this is about Afternoon Delight.
Of course it
Afternoon
is.
Delight. Yes, of course it is. They would have called
saying it bluntly in the song.
We've had this talk about England Dan and John Ford Coley. It's like there's a cool, there's a warm wind with stars around. I'd really like to see it tonight. I'm not going to tell you I love you. I promise I won't lie. This isn't forever. It's like, he just breaks it down. Like, just come on over for like half an hour.
Yeah.
And then you can leave.
Or maybe, yeah.
It was one of the, it was one of the first friends with benefit kind of songs.
I don't know. It's just, it was fun. I remember having fun with that. It just knowing, and Mom had no idea.
No,
she liked it.
Tell me that story. She's running around singing the song. I'm like, really? He's like, yep. Bush in the bush. Yep. No idea.
Yeah, I'm
that's the
kind
innocence
of
of it.
damaged.
You're not
to that
reading
fun.
into it.
I have the music EP and I love it. Keep on Jumping is a great song on that 4-song EP. It's really good, but In the Bush is on there too, and I won't listen to it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of songs like that.
I got PTSD.
Yeah,
PTSD from In the Bush. Yeah,
Mom with the vacuum. No. Yeah,
she just liked it way too much, and I just it was.
Yeah, there's a few of those tracks out there.
I need therapy now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Nothing a new phone and a new server won't get you through, kid.
No, it's taken care of.
You'll be fine.
But I don't know. That's it's just funny that somebody would be like Watermelon Sugar, like, I read a thing and now I know.
Oh, that's
the worst song you've ever heard.
My husband and daughter, it's her daughter's 21st birthday, and she's like, my husband and daughter want it, don't play it.
Oh yeah, dude, play Don't Look Wild Thing. We love that one.
But I'm going over the list in my the other songs, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, okay, these are all sex songs, but they're not that obvious. It's not like Push It by Salt and Pepper. It's not that blatant, but we both know that's what it all comes down to. What else are you writing about? Boy meets girl, boy gets girl, boy loses girl. Next song.
You can go into the hip hop world and they're just kind of hype people for themselves, but that's different. Everyone else is just writing about.
They're trying to hide it. I think the best pop songs are the ones where it takes a minute to sink in.
It's called innuendo.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But even the innuendo takes a second because you're like,
right.
Oh my gosh, the way that, if I would find it hard to believe that Summer Breeze by Seals and Croft is anything other than a summer breeze. I would really like to think in my heart of hearts, that's all they wrote about. I hate to find out later in life, oh no, that's an S&M term. Wait, what?
No. All the guy's talking about is it's just, no, I can see what he's talking about in my head. And it's
I just
nothing
see
bad.
them walking down the beach with a breeze.
Oh no, this guy's coming home from a hard day's work. And she's waiting there without a care in the world. So he's coming home from work. He's not making a lot of dough. It's a real simple
Summer
house.
Breeze means that, and he wants.
No. What I'm saying is that although they're not rich, although maybe they live somewhere that's not a real cool place to live. I don't know.
But they have each other.
And the summer breeze is like all I need. This is all I need.
Perfect.
This is wonderful.
It's
a fine song.
Yes.
You can make it dirty if you want to, but there's no reason to.
I don't know if you have it. I have the 12-inch, and the B-side on that is Face Down, Butt Up. Now, that's a song that I think is a little more to the point.
Sure it is.
A little more to the point.
Sure.
People are now, I hope somebody out there is going to actually stop for a heartbeat and go, Sears and Croft did Face Down?
No, you know what's going to happen? Everybody's going to be on Googling, what does this song Watermelon Sugar really need? Because I know that I'm going to do it. Like, I didn't know.
And what the hell is Afternoon Delight? These guys are old.
Well, I mean,
they got a Grammy for it. Song won a Grammy. Yeah.
Did you know they got their own TV show for it too?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Do you know who the host of the TV show was? His not his first gig, his second gig, I believe. His second gig after he moved to Hollywood. David Letterman was the host of the Starland Vocal Band show.
Really?
Yes.
No kidding.
Wow, I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Look it up on YouTube.
Oh.
It only lasted a few episodes, but it was the dumbest concept for a show in the world. Here is Letterman, fresh out of, Indianapolis as a weatherman doing comedy at the Comedy Store, takes this gig as the host of the Starland Vocal Band Variety Hour. And it's literally David Letterman, sounding just like David Letterman, looking just like David. We're here with the Starland Vocal Band at an autograph signing today. Let's check in with them. It was the weirdest goddamn thing in the world.
That is weird.
Yeah, Google it or YouTube it. It's funny.
Who is that marketing genius? The
I know.
thing?
Well, I mean, hey, he moved on to bigger and better things.
Is that true?
Yeah.
$20 is $20.
Yeah.
Well, did you see the letter that John Colley?
By the way,
put out?
Margot from Starland Vocal Band is so hot.
Well, side
Super
note,
hot.
one of the singers, his
Looks just like
daughter
Wavy Davy. Yeah.
was a contestant. I think it's that one. Was a contestant on either The Voice
Oh, really?
or like a few years ago. And she's like, I think it was The Voice, and she got in, and they're like, so what got you into singing? She's like, oh, my dad, he's a singer. Oh, no way. And he was backstage, and one of the judges was like, oh, was he ever in a band? She's like, yeah, he has a Grammy. And that's, now everyone's ears perk. And they're like, really? She's like, yeah, he wrote Afternoon Delight. He was in Starland
Vocal Band, yeah.
And they're like, bring him out. Oh my God, I love that song. And this and that and this and that. He's like, oh, thanks. And he went from her dad backstage to, oh, cool, I'm back on stage. Now move over, sweetheart. Now dad's out here. It was funny to see. Because I think, it was like, wow, we're going back to that era. Well,
hey.
Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers, his daughter just got cut from American Idol.
Well, you guys got Lori going. She's got some songs here in the comments. I got a brand new pair of roller skates.
Innuendo songs.
Oh, that's way in
Melanie. Yeah.
Oh man, you got a brand new key.
The funny ones, to me, the funny ones are the ones that sound dirty, but they're not. And you know who was really good at doing those songs? Who was really good at doing songs like that?
Who?
Was David Lee Roth.
Oh, yeah.
He'd make it sound dirty, but it wasn't dirty. Like Panama, for instance.
Yeah.
It's about a car.
Yes.
That's all it's about.
Yeah,
that sounds like it's a chick.
But he's even smart enough to, on the brakes, be like,
reach down between my legs and ease the seat back.
Yeah, he's just,
he's adjusting the seat in his car. It's innocent.
But
it sounds dirty.
But he makes it sound dirty.
Yeah.
We're a little bit hot tonight.
Give me a bottle of anything and a glazed donut.
To go.
Wait, what? Yeah, I think there's always going to be that challenge of selling music to older people. And I got it when I was in high school. My dad was sadly, the main promoter in Boston at the time was a guy named Don Law. And my dad had a guy that worked at his business who worked for Don Law and would carry a gun and deal with the T-shirt money from the different merch at a concert. And he got me my tickets. He got me my Frampton tickets. And I went to Frampton because I wanted to see Black and Blue, which was Blue Oyster Cult and Black Sabbath. And my dad went into work and said, hey, Phil, what's with this Black Sabbath band? Jay wants to go see him. Oh, you don't want him going to that. A lot of drugs and fighting. Oh, here we go. That's how I got Frampton. And by the way, Phil, if you're watching this, and you might be, I saw my first girl flash at Peter Frampton. So it wasn't that innocent.
What year are we talking about, Jay?
1979, June. Opening act, Climax Blues Band.
Ooh. Probably one of their last performances, too.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Because their next album came out in 80 and they broke up.
They broke up before I Love You came out.
Yes.
Their biggest
They've
hit.
never performed it live.
Right.
The band never performed it live. They did shot the video, canned, and then broke up, and the song was never played by the band live.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the summer of 79, and it was stupendous. The smell of nicotine and weed in the air.
Sure. Yeah.
Girls in bell bottoms, and then these two girls flashed the stage 2 rows behind me, and I was just like, this isn't even happening.
Yeah.
This is death. I'm dead. I'm in heaven now. I know that's what happened. And
Today
he
would be on
killed it.
TMZ. You won't believe what happened.
Yeah, he came out. He still had the hair. He still had the swagger. I mean, this was only like, what, 3 years off of Frampton Comes Alive, 4 years off?
Four.
And, you know, he crushed it. He was a great concert.
It was a follow-up album. Was it called I'm in You, or was that just the song off of it that I remember?
No, I'm in You. Again,
was the name of the album.
That was the name of the album, but that was the song on it too, the big hit.
Yes, well, I knew it was a song, but I thought the album was called that. I thought I put that cover in my head.
Where he's sitting down with the shirt.
Yeah, kind of leaning back. You know,
that one.
Kind of doing the whole Sean Cassidy looking.
Now, I'm going to be honest. That's a song that's always, I've wondered, what's this song about? I still, you know, I
don't know, but the dude, I got to give credit where credit is due. Frampton is one of the greats.
Yeah. It's tragic now. He's not touring anymore because he's developed a hand issue.
Yeah.
When?
That's degenerative. He gave his last tour, I think 2019.
Wow. Yeah, it was a few
because
years
he's got
ago.
a degenerative condition that he just can't play guitar. He's fine. But it affects the muscles in his hands.
Well, he just had a birthday, and I think he said there was 73.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, that's the bigger thing. You know, I mean, you look, they show, video of the Stones in the early 80s on like the, Steel Wheels tour and things like that. You kind of looking at him like Keith's got black hair and they all look sort of young. And you're like, those guys are 70 now. Well, yeah, they were 30 then. Like, let's
they were
not,
older than that. No, wait, I got, got to do the math on
90s.
this. They're up there, though. I mean,
they're 73,
Jesus.
74. Yeah, but still, 40 years ago,
they're
were
going on 60
35.
years, aren't they?
Yeah,
I mean, we're on the crest of 60
teens.
years.
Yeah, and they're coming up on 80.
Well,
so even if they're 80,
they've charted
80,
in 7 decades.
They were 40. Even if they were 80, they were 40.
Yeah.
40's not old.
No, but they have charted in 7 decades. They charted in the 60s on up.
Yep.
You know what, though? There must have been something in the water back then, because I think we've talked about the Traveling Wilburys.
Yeah.
Those guys look like haggard old men. And I think only Roy Orbison was in his 50s, and he was 52.
Yeah, but the rest of them were like
and the only one left
Right?
alive.
Like Tom Petty was like 38 or something.
Yeah.
Not
Jeff
Joe
Lynne.
Lynne.
Jeff Lynne.
Jeff Lynne is the only one left alive. I went Joe Lynne.
No, he's not, because Dylan was in that.
Oh, that's right. I take that back. Dylan is still alive. That's right.
Dylan's still here.
Petty's dead. Harrison is dead, and Roy Orbison's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the 3 original members of Motorhead are all dead. They died within about a year of each other too, which is even weirder. So there are bands that are just gone.
Yeah.
Like there is no like they're coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. We could have a conversation about the Traveling Wilburys. That was Jeff Lynne. That was
right.
Jeff Lynne.
I think the bigger thing is talking about Duran Duran being 40 now. Look at it the other way. Take the guys that were in their 20s then; they're now in their 60s.
Yeah,
because it's not like time escaped them.
Well, back to the Duran Duran thing for a minute. Something I didn't mention, and I was going to, and for some reason I didn't. But when you were talking about how a lot of that wasn't on your radar at the time, a lot of the remix stuff, it got me thinking about what radar was this stuff on. Not the remixes so much, or the night versions, or the extended versions, but just the music in general. And oddly enough, a lot of that stuff was on rock radio. It was getting played right next to Aldo Nova's Fantasy and Red Rider's Lunatic Fringe and Van Halen. Dive Her Down. It was,
I was doing radio then.
Yeah.
And but it's the remix stuff was getting relegated to a 2-hour show on a Sunday night, or like I was one of the producers, aka answered the phone, of Tony Berardini, one of the program directors at the station, had Heavy Metal from Hell, and it was a 2-hour Sunday night show, and that was dedicated to metal. And then they would go into like what would now be considered alternative, or punky back then, the next show, and then it went to just overnight radio because it was 24/7. But like, I guess I just didn't travel in the crowd.
No, I wasn't even
ever came up, and I kind of wish I had.
I wasn't even referring to that. I was just talking about Duran Duran music.
No, they were played next to Aerosmith. And Aretha Franklin.
Oh yeah.
And then you're saying, well, I took my my little sisters in 85, and it was all little girls.
It was predominantly younger girls. Yeah. They were still on that crest of the cute, what I meant. I never saw the Beatles. They were considered that, not
they were
stature, but they were in appeal.
Yeah.
Well, I told you one of the best shows I've ever been to was in Boston on the Commons. They did a couple summers of what they called the Commons Summer Series. And it was concerts on the Boston Common, completely open, just with a fence around. I think they capped at 5,000 seats. And the show I saw was 85. I saw Berlin open for Thompson Twins. And it was the King for Just One Day tour. Okay. I think that album was Into the Gap.
Probably, yeah.
Something like that. It was after the Hold Me Now album.
Yeah.
The next one. I want to say it was called Into the Gap.
The last big one they had. The last big commercial one they had in the States anyway.
And it was phenomenal. And I just remember watching going like, because you didn't know then that everyone was firing on all cylinders. You didn't know that everyone was as good as they were.
Yeah.
Until you see the videos now where you're like, they're not quite hitting the notes. They've slowed down. You can, I saw AC/DC in 2000 and I saw them in 80 the first time on Back in Black.
Yeah.
And the speed with which Angus Young would, bang his head in 1980 was substantially faster than what he did in 2000.
Of course it was.
But it was the first time I realized, because I would hear adults talk. Granted, I'm going back 20 years. I was still not a young kid, but I remember hearing people say, oh man, I saw so-and-so. They've really slowed down. I hadn't seen that transition of my acts yet. Yeah. My acts were still only 10 or 20 years old,
right?
30 years old. Then all of a sudden you realize they're 30 years old to me. I mean, Back in Black was 20 years old when I saw them in 2000. That's not a big span. But then you got to stop and realize, wait, they've been doing this for 30 years. It's taking its toll.
Sure. And I think there are a few exceptions to that rule where I feel like there's more energy brought to the stage. And I mean, if anything musically than there was back in the day. I've seen live performances of Anna Wilson from the mid to late 70s.
Right.
And I wasn't impressed, but I see her now. Oh my God.
Right.
She's better now.
She can really hit the notes. Yeah.
Yeah, but she wasn't even trying in the 70s. I don't know why. She was just almost taking the piss, I guess.
Yeah.
She was making, kind of what do I want to say, riffing the words, not really. When people go see live shows, most of the time I think people are there to hear something that they're familiar with and not hear some weird Joe Jackson reworking of Steppin' Out, that no one's ever heard or asked to hear before. They wanted to hear the Yamaha drum machine version of that song. But I don't know. There are some exceptions to that rule. If you go to see somebody if you were to have gone to see somebody like Stevie Ray Vaughan or B.B. King or Prince or somebody like that, who is just okay, you're a performer. Let's see what you're going to do tonight because it's whatever you feel like it. Or Chicago back in the Terry Kath days. They were a jam band. They just did stuff.
Right.
It didn't always sound like the album, but that was okay. And I think the Dead are like that. Not that I like the Dead, but I think the Dead are like that. But something like Heart, if you're not going to do something better than the album, don't do it. Do the album.
I'll find a video to send you because I've seen her in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like when they had Roger Fisher, the guitarist, the original guitarist with him. And there's a couple videos, dude. She's cranking it. She's busting out singing. She's running around. She was
Every live video I've seen her do of Magic Man, she acts like she doesn't care. Like she's heard it enough. She doesn't want to do it anymore. But the other guy that I'm thinking about, who I think is more animated now, and I'm only speaking from seeing videos. I haven't seen this guy live ever. He seems very animated. He seems like his singing is really cool now. It's different, but it's cool. There's a lot of energy. Paul McCartney. And the guy's pushing 80.
Going on
tour. I'd go with you on that. Paul McCartney.
He's going on tour this summer.
Yeah.
How is this possible?
Yeah. Amazing.
The first time I saw it was when they
that.
inducted Ringo Starr into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Ringo went on stage to do I Want to Be Your Man.
Ringo's not fast anymore.
And Ringo's playing along. And right at the end of the song, Paul steps up to the mic and he's playing guitar or he's playing bass or something and starts singing I Want to Be Your Man. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is a rock star. He was screaming it, but it sounded cool. And he was bouncing around and dancing and playing. I'm like, yeah, okay. I can't believe my eyes that you're doing this at this age. This is amazing. If I didn't even know who you were, this is amazing.
Right.
Impressive. But it does go both ways.
I think it totally does. I think women tend to hold on better. I just heard Sheryl Crow live last week.
Oh, yeah.
And she sounded amazing. And at one point, Howard Stern had her, he goes, I love that harmony. Can you do that a cappella? And she did. And she sounded great. And I'm like, she's 61, 62.
Is she really?
She's over 60. I know that. Or she might be just 60.
I was thinking she was
early 60s. Yeah.
I thought she was
my
generation.
You know, she was figure mid to late 20s, 30 years ago when she first came to LA in the 90s or late 80s.
Well, I know that she was Michael Jackson's guitarist for the Bad Tour. That I remember.
Yeah, she did background vocal and Split. She did.
And that was 86, I think.
The back and forth on the, not Don't Want to Fight, whatever his dual.
Just Can't Stop Loving You, perhaps.
Something like that. And then she did a bunch of other projects before she kind of got her break. But yeah, she's 60 all day.
Yeah,
looks fantastic.
Yeah,
sounds fantastic. There's a.
Have you seen Ann Wilson lately?
I have. She looks like she's. Oh, I haven't done. I mean, I saw her a couple of years ago, and she looked like the new version of Ann Wilson, which she's looked a certain way. I don't want to get graphic, but you know what I'm talking about.
She's been a big girl for a long time.
Very long time, yeah.
Yeah.
She's lost weight. She's looking good.
Oh, okay. She's fought that, and I feel bad because she's a victim of the industry going like, you know, and they hated that Gold Girl look video they did in the 80s when they got that second bang in their career.
Never and
Dreams, these dreams.
These dreams.
And they hated it because they hated that Nancy was put in a bustier pushing them out, and Ann was put in a welder's mask. And they hated that. Well, and Nancy fought for Ann, and she's like,
Ann is really starting to take care of herself. And I was kind of shocked by that.
Had a problem. I don't think it was just indiscriminate. Like, look, I'm going to just eat. I think she had some physical issues.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I mean,
ended up there. But if she's being more healthy now, and
she's always been super cool. I mean, just the coolest chick, you know, ever.
You ever hear her versions of like Battle of Evermore by Led Zeppelin and things like that?
I saw her do Stairway to Heaven at the Kennedy.
the Kennedy Center. Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, live, they're always doing like rock and roll, Battle of Evermore, a bunch of Zeppelin stuff. And she's the real deal.
Oh, yeah.
Belted out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I question how many people will maintain. And I think the 80s is going to be the great divide because a lot of them have not maintained.
Some of them are dead.
Well,
not many people survived.
You know, I'm not beating on him, but John Bon Jovi couldn't sing a high note if I handed him.
No, yeah, he's done. Phil Collins.
You know who still got his voice? The two guys that I've seen recently. And I don't know either name, so if you know it, throw it in. The lead singer of Spandau Ballet and the lead singer of Go West.
Don't know his name.
I saw an 80s festival from the UK on like some channel or a video, and it was from like 2017, 18. Oh my gosh. Nailing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy, how do these guys maintain? Howard Jones still sounds really
good. I
was
just going to say Howard Jones. It was on the tip of my tongue.
Check the video of him and Nick Kershaw. He brings Nick Kershaw out to acoustically do Wouldn't It Be Nice? Wouldn't it be good? Wouldn't it be good? I caught myself. Wouldn't it be good? And going into it, Howard Jones starts doing like the piano riff of it. It's this like, you know, it's a really moving show to see.
Howard Jones is one of those guys that is just so goddamn prolific. I don't think people understand how good Howard Jones is. I mean, it's one of those artists that I think you almost have to see live to really go, oh wow.
Yeah,
I've noticed. I've noticed like on like, you know, when I watch these reaction videos on YouTube, if somebody listens to Peter Frampton, Do You Feel Like We Do? They're like, hey, that was pretty cool. If they see the Midnight Special video, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the Cars, like Just What I Needed.
Yes.
Or Best Friend's Girlfriend. If they hear, they're like, well, that's pretty good. But they see it perform it, they're like, this is amazing.
Well, and Elliot Easton is a very, very, very underrated guitar player. He does, if I would dare say, from a guitar standpoint, one, he plays lefty, which always throws the viewer off that it's backwards, but it's not. He's just lefty.
Sure.
But if you listen to every Cars song, I think you would agree every solo Elliot Easton ever played is an entire song in a song. He had a beginning, he had a crescendo, and he got back into the song at the right time and spot. His solos are mini telling stories.
Oh, they're good.
Amazing.
They're good.
Solo from Shake It Up. So I like everything, like every one of his solos.
I'm thinking of Just What I Needed.
Good.
I'm just thinking of the solo in the B section there.
So
how iconic that is.
We're like what, 43 years old on that album? 44 years old? What was that? 78, 79?
77 or 78 on that one.
I thought it was 8. I thought it was my freshman year in high school. But you look how different the musical landscape. And like I said today in that other show, it comes down to one thing. It's the access to information. We had to look for it back then. You had to go out of your way to find out where the album was, how to find it, ride your bike, take a bus, take a train, you know, do whatever. But you had to physically go. I've told this story before. I used to go to Newbury Comics in Boston, and I would go in and ask this punk girl who had platinum weird spiky hair with this ponytail, little braid thing, and she would turn me on to different punk bands and like new wave stuff I should listen to and all that. And then I'm watching MTV and they're showing Till Tuesday, and I'm like, hey, what's Amy from Newbury Comics doing in the video? Wait, is she singing lead? Holy shit, she's the lead singer of Till Tuesday? And she was. Yeah. Amy Mann used to work at Newbury Comics. But, you know, like, that's how we got information. You would go to the store, and, you know, it's a joke you can make a movie about now, and people have, but that's how we found out. You know, Metallica and a lot of those metal bands were from a thing called fanzines, which were fan-driven magazines, and people tape traded. You would write a letter, Dear Brian, you're into the same metal I am. Here's a tape of this new band Metallica. Do you have anything? J at blah, 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 blah. Here's my address. And then you would get it and be like, oh, this is great. I just got this Saxon Live one. I'll send it to Jay. I mean, like that was the internet. Hard to believe, but that was the internet for the metalheads.
A lot of effort.
Yeah, it was, but it paid off because you anticipated it. Didn't you always anticipate your purchase before you got home? Couldn't you like, if I said to you, hey, Brian, I see you bought 3 new albums. Oh, yeah, in the 80s. Oh, I just got the new Police. I got the new Duran Duran, and I got the new Depeche Mode. Hey, do you want to come over and do? No, I got to go home.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I remember
like it wouldn't matter what they were doing. Like you turned down everything. You had to get home. I haven't listened to these yet.
When I was a teenager, specifically a teenager, I was always torn. I wanted to hear the song immediately, which would have meant cassette. But if I committed and got either the record or the CD, I'd have to wait to get home. And I think I've told you that, you know, Mom to this day still lives about 40 minutes that way.
Right.
And by the way, 40 minutes that way is 40 minutes from anything.
Right.
So if you go to the store, you got a 40-minute drive to get home to listen to your Dweezil Zappa Having a Bad Day album.
Yeah.
Which is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to hear it right now.
I had my Ross 5-speed, white Ross 5-speed.
You laugh. I bought that album.
And I do laugh because I you know, if you tell me you bought
I bought
Zappa,
it.
Did you buy Moon Zappa's album?
I bought Dweezil Zappa Having a Bad Day.
But what about Moon?
No, I bought Dweezil Zappa Having a Bad Day.
Yeah, he's a good guitar player.
Yeah, he was. They had he did a song with Moon on there that was good. The one that sticks out in my head was a song he did with Bobcat Goldthwait called "I Want a Yacht." I don't know why. But
Did you ever think he was trying too hard to be his dad, or?
He was like 17 years old at the time, and he had a crazy green guitar with holes drilled in it, and he was good, and it was fun. And I was playing guitar at the time, and he wasn't taking himself too seriously.
No, I think he always took the piss out of himself.
Yeah, so
now he's touring his dad's music, so he can hold his own with his dad's style and play.
Yeah,
you know, you got to give him respect.
He seems like a good guy, and his sister
he did
seems like
a tour called Zappa Does Zappa.
Yeah, that's his new thing, and he's got a lot of the old band. Yeah. The thing was, I remember the bike ride, which wasn't long; it was only a few miles, but from the record store to home with Cheap Trick live at Budokan and Police Outlandos to More. And my biggest decision when I got home was which one to put on.
Right,
I was going to listen to it in its entirety, and I think I flipped a coin and the Police won. So I put the Police on. And I think the first track on the Police was like "Hole in the Ocean" or something.
The rule,
and, you had to listen to side 1, side 2.
Well, the rule that we had, my brother kind of set the rule, was that when you bought a new album, you listen to it in entirety, the first listen, while you're recording it on the best cassette you have.
Oh,
so you could go back and you're getting it you're getting the version listen,
yes,
recorded.
Yeah.
Then you do whatever you want, but you got to do front to back, recorded on the best metal or chrome tape you had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you could listen to it repeatedly after that. But that was the rule. And that was the way to go. Yeah. Well, again, you needed older siblings to teach you this shit.
No, but I got to in 1980. And what's crazy is there's a guy on YouTube now that is obviously a huge Aerosmith fan because he's posting all these bootlegs. One of them is Boston, December 1980. I listened to it on BCN and I recorded it. Like, you know, it was playing on my clock radio and I had a little cassette recorder.
Sure.
And I just remember being enthralled listening to what can only be described as some of the worst sounding recording of all time, but still hearing Seasons of Wither live and not knowing which end was up. I mean, like the world could have ended right then and there and I would have left satisfied.
Do you remember do you remember at the top of the show when I told you that I had 3 things I wanted to talk about?
We got to get done.
You did want to mention a previous show.
We're going to have to do another show because we ran out of time. We didn't even get off the Duran Duran thing.
This thing happens.
It does.
Well, there are 2 Durans. That's what took so long.
Yeah, we did one and then we did the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
In order.
It takes a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's just more for the fans to tune into.
That's right.
Next week.
All right.
That's right. I have some thoughts on Howie's hanging out with Howie's show that was broadcast tonight, but that's relative.
When is the show from? Last August, last September?
Yeah, it's May 5th right now.
It was a week ago.
Duran Duran.
Oh wow!
Anniversary, by the way, which we've been. I have some thoughts on an interesting way that we can market ourselves to clients to get around the dilemma of people don't know until they made a bad choice and then they wish they made a better choice.
Right.
I thought of a really neat marketing idea that I'm not going to share with you until
that could be a whole show
time, or it could be.
Excellent.
And then there's other stuff. I had another thing that was really good, but you're gonna have to wait till next time. Sorry.
Alrighty.
Sounds like we're done.
So we're done. Yeah. My contract says an hour and then I can have a cigarette. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll see you next time, guys. If we're here next time, if John doesn't fire us, we appreciate you watching and appreciate your likes and comments and all that kind of fun stuff. Until next week or next Arbor Day or whenever this goes up, we'll see you then.
See you then.